What makes you think you deserve it?
When you've been working since you were 13, promise mama everything. Burn so often, fire talking, scars so dark they fill your dreams. Nightmares to the young and clean. Life will wait for some it seems. Pray for days when heaven stays, but you ain't put no work in for the crown. You ain't put no work in for the crown.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Unplugging episode 24. Today we have a guest, Chris Santa.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name's Chris, and I'm an entrepreneur. I work for myself. I'm into health, fitness, and I'm open to anything, man. I'll talk about anything. So,
love it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Chris Santa. All right, Santa Claus is in town. All right, is in town. We're almost in December. Can you believe it?
Time flies, bro.
My gosh.
Time is flying.
It's a little scary. Well, my man, thanks for joining us. Absolutely. The show's about you right now, okay? So, when I saw you yesterday, I told myself, I see a man who has done a lot of things already for himself. He has a career, okay? He's built up something. He's built up businesses. He has assets. You have children. Okay, you have a child or you have
daughter.
Okay, a daughter. Okay, good. How's she doing so far?
oh, she's really good, man. Beautiful, growing up.
Excellent. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Parenthood, huh? And you seem like you're very stable. And the fact that you're focusing so much on chasing excellence, I see that from you. You don't even have to tell me that. I can just sense that. Okay, because I've met guys like you where if I see a man who he's on a purpose, he's not chasing tail 24/7, and all he talks about really is, look, I'm doing this, I'm on my grind. It's not hard to kind of weed out the winners and the losers from that place. It really isn't. And I look at it more from like the alpha standpoint, where it's more of a mindset where you're just chasing the right things and then everything else kind of comes in as a byproduct. So I really wanted to start this whole entire thing off, of course, being about you and kind of fitness related stuff. I'm big when it comes to fitness and things like that, even though we don't talk about that too much on the podcast, which we will start talking about that a little bit more. I just have a lot of stuff going on in religion. I am going to talk a little bit about religion as well. Dr. Cervantes, again, the first one to come on in. That's what's up, my man. Dedicated, But when it comes to the fitness aspect, when did you start getting into fitness? Or when did you at least have the inception of just saying, you know what, fitness is something I'm going to get into. I'm going to kick butt in it, and I just want like a certain type of physique that's going to carry me and give me this image when I'm chasing careers and chasing excellence.
I gotta say, my older brother was my role model. Obviously, your older brother's always gonna be your role model. But it was like around.
If I had an older brother, I would know.
So it was probably when I was like 11 years old, 10, I think, something like that. And I remember he bought a bench. He bought a bench.
It starts with the bench, man.
Yeah,
It starts with the bench.
He wanted to work out, and that's actually the first workout he taught me how to do was a benching. I remember I was benching it was like 210s. It was like 210s on each side with the bar, and that's where it started, man. It started there. I was young. My brother was working out, and I was like, man, I need to work out. And from there on, I was like, I like it. It made me feel good.
You got hooked.
I got hooked.
You got hooked.
So I believe people should train when they're ready to start, right? And so, I'll have small, not debates, but I'll have discussions with some parents even, right? Because my job is elicited towards that. So I do sales. I'll do sales and such, and then I also do nutrition, and then I'm one of the coaches as well. And I love having these types of conversations, and you're a parent also, so I'm sure you're probably going to wonder what I'm about to say right now when it comes to the developmental growth cycle and kind of just dictating when the youth should start lifting. In my opinion, and even just you can kind of go through research on this, because as long as the child is ready to listen, like they can follow directions, you could start giving them divergence in exercise, right? Now, I'm not saying put a 45-pound barbell that's going to give them all this stress on their spinal cord, whether it's a horizontal load or a vertical load. That's where we start having problems, right? Giving them dumbbell work, bands, their own bodies, their own weight, adding horizontal and vertical plyometrics, kettlebells, even some corrective exercises. what it's about for them is, of course, building more lean body mass and just joint alignment. That's what we're going with. The developmental growth cycle is where it comes down to, because what parents will usually talk about is, well, I don't want to lift the kids. I don't want the kids lifted because it damages their growth plates. And I argue, not actually verbally argue, but I have this thought in my head. It's like, well, I argue them not working out hurts them in the long run.
I agree with that. Right?
What are your thoughts on that so far?
Man, I actually put my daughter to work out, do pull-ups.
Yes. Oh, man, you showed the pull-ups. Oh, man.
Pull-ups, man. I had her hanging from the bar.
Nice.
You know, that's good stuff, actually. I always imagine, and this is not to be like stereotypical or anything, I hope not, it's the girls would usually like to do plyometrics, boys too, with the hopscotching, they do a lot of contralateral work, you know, and then jump roping. So to me, it's like that. I would imagine that's like the first thing they're doing. By just innately, that's what they're going to start doing. Because when they're hanging out with their girlfriends and when they're in school and such, those are kind of the activities and extracurriculars they chase and go towards to, right? So I would imagine like doing like the box jumps, right? Box jumps or single leg plyometrics, the horizontal jumping, anything that involves jumping, like they'll go for that every single time. Whereas boys, I feel like running is something that they'll be more attained to, because the thing is that there's this book. I read it sometime. I didn't read the whole thing. I read like bits and pieces of it, and basically they did like a small experiment on basically the psychology of girls and boys, and it had to do with communitarianism and it had to do with meritocracy. When boys play, they're competing.
Yeah.
When girls play, they're not competing. Everything is kind of the same. Everything is equal, and because there's no winner, there's no loser. Everything's kind of split there. It's just like, okay, did you have fun? Did you have fun? Yeah, we all had fun. And everyone's kind of rewarded an experience.
Yeah.
So it's more communitarianistic.
Yeah.
Whereas with boys, they're gonna go hard on each other. Sometimes they might push each other. They might fall. They might trip. They might point the finger and be like, "Why did you push me?" This and that. They get at each other. You know what I mean? And of course, the winners are the ones who are going to benefit because they're trying more, they care more about the sport. It's the merit, hence the meritocracy and such. So that's where I was kind of like thinking to myself, like, huh, interesting. So you chose pull-ups and such.
Pull-ups, yeah. Squats, range of motion type of exercises.
Okay. Full range of motion, so they get the benefits.
Yeah, so she could stretch out, you know, learn how to do like lunges and stuff like that. Jumping, you know, she loves to jump. I got a trampoline for her so she could.
Nice.
You know, so you know, I taught her how to do like flips and stuff like that. Very young age, like literally like 2-3 years old.
You taught her flips, like back flips?
No, front flips, like rolls.
Oh, okay. Somersaults.
Yeah, stuff like that. Okay. And stuff like that, and just to get her used to like range of motion and moving around and being more flexible.
Okay.
And pull-ups, obviously hanging. She's been hanging since she was born.
Mm-hmm.
I had her hanging from my fingers. Carrying her up like that when she was hanging.
That's adorable.
Yeah, so I had her hanging, and then when she got a little older, I started, you know, putting her on the pull bar and encouraging her to pull up, and she would do it, you know, and
that's awesome.
That's how it started with her, you know, and I'm a firm believer that, you know, kids at any age, you know, from birth to grown up, you know, they should be working out. Should be doing some type of workout, you know, to enhance the physical body, you know.
Some type of extracurricular in which it hits their nervous system, so they're more responsive, right?
Yeah.
Because the thing is, like, I can tell you right now, if you look at some child somewhere, whether it's on the streets, at a gym, a playground, with their parents, just look at how they move.
Yeah.
Like, look at them from the frontal plane in front of them and just be like, bro, you're turning your feet out, which when they turn their feet out, when people turn their feet out, that's signage of weak hamstrings. When their spinal cord is like rotating, so that tells you that a weak abdomen wall, weak small intrinsic muscle groups surrounding the spine, so it's not holding the spine in place. So there are no isometrics, basically. Yeah. When they're protruding on their shoulders, something like this. So when they sit, they're not sitting up straight or with their chest up. And you see them kind of like with their shoulders protruded forward and things like that. Or when they move, it's just like, bro, like, sit up straight. You know what I mean? Like, move upward. Like, so all that, and parents won't see this, or they might be in a little bit of denial. I'm not calling any parents out, but it's just that's happening because they'll give you somewhat quackery. They'll somewhat say, "Oh, well, he's just doing that on purpose. He's just lazy. He's weak.
Yeah.
He or she is weak."
I think a lot of people are dumbed down too. Obviously, and manipulated, and parents and stuff like that. Their attention isn't on strengthening their child, in that type of form. Some parents are, some parents have awareness and know what's going on, and they want their child to grow up stronger. Some parents don't care; they don't have time. Look at society the way it is. Everybody's attention is you gotta work, you gotta make money, you gotta pay bills.
Yeah, they give them the iPads and stuff like that.
To distract them.
iPad babies, just to distract them and stuff like that.
Distract them so the parents don't have to deal with them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so sad.
And I'm gonna go as far as saying that's a form of neglect. I'll argue with anybody that you're neglecting your child. Like him or her just sitting in a corner, and you're basically setting yourself free. In your mind, you're setting yourself free. You have this like little free feeling, and you've pretty much unshackled yourself from, I guess, the responsibilities of watching the child, teaching them.
I'm a little guilty about that. It happens to me too. I gotta clean the dishes. I gotta wash some clothes. I gotta clean the floor, clean the house or something. Well, I'm a single parent, so I find myself sometimes, I'll put on the TV.
That's
let her get a little bit distracted. Obviously something that's gonna be helpful for her. I'm not gonna put garbage stuff on for her. But I'll put like some cartoons or something like that and entertain her. And what am I gonna do? I gotta entertain her a little bit while I clean up. I gotta clean up, do chores or something around the house.
Yeah, it's speaking of like the single parenthood and such. We pulled up a study not too long ago. Actually, this is like maybe episode 1 even or 2, 3, the beginning episodes. We I can imagine we caught some flack for this because we brought in a guest and we talked about single motherhood and single parent households. And this is where we generate some heat here. And this is not even coming from men. This is mostly coming from women, unfortunately.
Yeah.
When we give them the dogma, or stigma if you want to call it that, single mother households have increased dramatically over the years. And it's not good. Back in the day, I'll tell you something even. Back in the day, single motherhood was pathologized. It was considered a problem. And ostracization would be a thing. And then the women who were single mothers, like they would basically just be dismissed from their families because it's disgraceful. That's what it was back in the day. Now we're praising it. For what?
Yeah.
And I say for what because if you look at the statistics, single mother households are, number one, they're beta factories.
Yeah.
They're degeneracy factories as well. They're single mothers, unfortunately, and I have to say it, and I praise them only because they're trying. And they're trying, but that doesn't mean that they're releasing the results that we need, right? If you look at the statistics, a lot of kids who are in jail right now, or teenagers or whatnot, like look at the shooting. Look at the shooting that we had with Donald Trump. It was reported also some like a day later or two, and I dug up a little research. He doesn't have a father present, I believe, in his life. He's around, he's alive, but he's not really around.
Involved.
Yeah, he's not involved within his life. And you can see that the majority, over 80% of the boys who are in jail, and psychologists and people who talk to them and things like that, how's your life? How's your family? 80% of them, a little more, if anything, say that they don't have a father involved in their lives.
Not sure.
And on the same token, women as well, the girls who are into sex work or strippers who are also in jail as well because battery or whatever, the same thing, because there's no father figure putting their foot down on them.
Yeah. And that's why I fight hard to have custody of my daughter. Because obviously I'm separated, and going through litigation stuff right now with her mother. And her mother is like alienating me my daughter's life. And that's crazy,
It is crazy. This is here's a point I did not bring up ever.
What?
Ever, and I should have. One of the things I forgot actually to bring up, because again, we pulled up a study regarding how that we have 45 years of research right now stating that mothers are not as good nurturers as fathers, actually, because they're neurotic, they're irrational most of the times, and then they have the time with the mother, things like that. And they don't handle stress well. They don't. They really don't, as compared to men, of course. One of the things I keep forgetting to mention is when women finally get married and they're with a guy who is someone, may not be their first choice, but a choice in which gives a promise, gives this pretense that there's a future for them, okay? They will be in line for the most part. But the moment there's an untying of the knot, the moment something like that happens, she completely becomes a different person. In fact, most of them become very bad people at that point. They just they come after you at that point. They just want nothing to do with you. They go after your assets. They go after basically whatever things that are sustaining you. And of course, they're going to fight custody for the kids. And they can call no fault whenever they want. Divorce laws totally favor women nowadays, totally, and they're completely hostile towards men. It's not a good idea right now. In the year of 24, it's not a good idea to get married for men. For women, it's they'll push. They'll push for it because why? Because why not? You know what I mean? Like I can untie the knot whenever I want to, and then I get pieces. I get a piece of whatever he has. They get the piece of the pie. But what do you get? You're not getting anything. You're losing, as a matter of fact. And on top of that, there's a good 70 to 80% that they're going to win custody over the children, which is astonishingly horrible. I
think it's starting to change around a little bit. Supposedly, there was a law passed saying that everything should be split down the middle, 50-50 custody. And I heard in Broward County that they're pushing that. I'm not quite sure how it's going yet, but when I go to court, I'm gonna know. So
in some countries, the UK has 50-50, to my knowledge. They have to split. Good for them. What I tell guys, if you're getting into this idea of getting married, definitely speak to a divorce attorney, anyone involved in marriage, and they will tell you, okay, if I get married here in the state of Florida, and this is pre-passing the law, if it does happen, right, where it becomes 50-50, what happens if I divorce her or she divorces me? What happens? And they'll tell you on the spot and bring her along. Of course, she'll probably find like, oh, why don't we have to find out this, that? Because you deserve to. You deserve to know like what goes on. And I find it fascinating that if I were to use the same logic, when I ask a woman, okay, so should men get prenups and postnups? A lot of them, of course, will say no. They'll be like, why? You should trust me. Okay, let's use your same logic then. If you're running a business, okay, and you are the president, and like you're the top dog, right? But then you just happen to have a business partner, so a co-president, basically, right? And you guys have this agreement through an LLC or a corporation, and it states for your co-partner, the co-president, okay, if this co-president decides to leave off free will, this person will get 50% of your earnings, will get all of your assets that are tied under the company name, and that's it, walk away. Would you be all right with that contract? Would you sign off on that contract? And they're either speechless, they say, oh, that's not the same thing, or they just say, I wouldn't sign it. Some of them will be honest and say they wouldn't sign it. So it's like, okay, so I find it fascinating how you expect men to uphold a level of responsibility, but you aren't expected to. You expect yourself, and you don't expect him to expect you to uphold certain responsibilities and certain dignity roles or virtues. So it's we can think of 10,000 different examples on that. What are your thoughts on that?
definitely, it's a business. Marriage is a business to me. I don't believe in getting married.
Okay.
That's for sure.
Mhm.
I'm not into marriage.
Why should you be, honestly?
Yeah, it's a monopoly.
Yeah.
It's a monopoly. That's what it is. If you love a person, I'm sure that that marriage should be at your own will. And
Here's the thing with marriage too, right? So I'll ask a few questions here. We'll have a little fun here, right? Who wants commitment? The man or the woman? Who's the one asking for it? Who's begging? Not even begging, but like who dreams of walking down a hall.
Women. Women are the one that want.
They're the ones who want it. So, and they're the gatekeepers of giving intimacy.
Yeah.
Right. So to me, they're the ones who are always going to want that. And men, of course, they're going to want to settle, of course, with a woman who they're going to love. But I think where the confusion is sometimes, like if I have a conversation with a woman, I guess we did kind of talk about the relationship stuff, and then we can kind of jump back onto like working out and such. What do you think hypergamy is? Have you ever heard of that?
Hypergamy?
Yeah.
I know polygamy.
Okay, we got that one.
I'm guessing hypergamy is
Yeah.
hypersexual.
Hypersexual. There, you're all about that. So hypergamy, basically, it's a feeling, and it's mostly on the women's side, right? And basically, it's there are some definitions of this, but it's the same message, right? And basically, what it means is that women try to go for their best option, right? Now, I think hypergamy is a superpower for women. I say it's a superpower because, and they need to understand it as well. It's a superpower because it allows them to scope out who the right guys are and who aren't the right guys, right? But the problem with hypergamy is because it's somewhat misused, right? And this is something Chris actually,
No.
we talked about the behind the scenes, Chris, is we talked a lot about, okay, well, here's the thing. We understand that women by nature want to find the best guy possible. But the process is totally wrong. How I explain that. The way I explain it is when women are young, when they're peaking, when they're at their most valuable, 18 to 24, okay, that's the moment a woman hits 18, the world is her oyster. Privileges, handouts, life on easy mode, guys throwing themselves on those girls.
Yeah.
It's endless. The possibilities are endless for them. And they don't even have to work. If they find the right guy, they don't even have to work. So it's like, oh my goodness, like how much better can it get for them? You know what I mean? The problem we see nowadays is when women are peaking, they prioritize, here it is. Their value is here when they're hitting 18 and 24. But their level of security, to find security, is down here. So there's an inverse relationship. However, when their value drops, their sense of security goes up. On the same token, somewhat, well, different token, when their value is up, their need for excitement goes up, experience goes up. So now we have this relationship here for the younger women, but we have the inverse, which is where they don't want to be in. This is where their biology kicks in and says, okay, well, you're in your 30s, you're close to 40, like, why haven't you found a mess? Now they search. They start searching for a guy. I'm not even going to say the guy. The guy was when they were peaking. This is for you women, okay? The guy is only there when you're peaking. He's not there when you're no longer peaking and when you're desperate to find a guy. The guy no longer exists for you. I know we're probably going to get some flack for that, but the guy, your first choice, gone. Totally gone. You now have to, what women have to start doing now at this point is they have to really drop their standards. Because when their sense of security goes up, their standards are still too high. So they want a guy who's provisionary. They want protection. They want a guy who doesn't show deformities with their face. They want broad shoulders. They want formidability. They want charisma. They want a guy who's funny, who's attractive to other women because it's pre-selection. But what women have to understand is when their value drops, they can't negotiate that hard. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree. I agree with that. That's true.
I'll have you engage a little bit more here. What do you think if women, because when they hit 30s and 40s, and they'll fight with us on this, when they lose value and they're going to say, oh my God, I'm tired, like I can do this and that, it's like, okay, women don't really care about A, B, C, and D. What would you tell a woman? What would your advice be for women who have passed their peak, who can no longer negotiate and ask and need this type of guy, this high value guy? What are your thoughts on that? How should they kind of navigate now through the sexual marketplace?
It gets tough. It gets tough for women. The older they get, the harder it is to, to pick the guy that they want. So
Do you think women's standards are too high in general?
I mean, I wouldn't generalize all women to be high standards, to be too high in their standards. But I'm sure the majority of women they abuse their so-called power, power that they think they have.
We say generalize because of anything that's in general. This is for the audience too, because I think generalization is a loose term that we're not having like a big understanding of it. It's basically 50% and above.
Yeah.
So when you said a majority, we're talking about past the 50%,
Yeah.
right? So we can generalize now because it's the majority,
Yeah.
right? If you want to equate it, general is majority.
Yeah.
We can call it that, and by your admission too. So you would not prefer, but your advice would be that women who have completely passed their prime, their fertilities or their reproductive value is lower, their youth has gone down, they're not as beautiful, and they probably have to go for probably very painful and discomforting surgeries, expensive while they're at it, to try to compete against the market, against younger girls.
Yeah.
They still should lower their standards regardless. That's what you would say, right? That they should just lower their standards regardless.
Well, I wouldn't say people should lower their standards or women should lower their standards, but not be abusive. Like how could I put this? I would say, I mean, nobody wants to lower their standards. You like what you like. You want to go for that. And what I would say is always go for whatever you want. Go for what it is that makes you happy. What makes you tick.
So yeah, and I can agree with that to certain degrees, but the thing is that if I want a Bugatti, I have to spend God knows how much money.
Good money. Yeah.
So I would love it, but that doesn't mean I'm going to get it because I don't have the money for it. You know what I mean? So I bring that example up simply because it's just okay. So let's use this same example, right? But in male female form, right? So if we have a female, let me not say ran through. She's experienced. She's been around. She's had
around the block.
The what?
Been around the block.
She's been around the block. She's traveled the world. She has a lot of experience. Probably doesn't have a good father figure or any male figure, whether it's a big brother, an uncle, grandfather, someone keeping her in line, right? So she most likely lacks the ability to respect men, right? That's a burden for us, right? Just those examples, just those few. And she's very disagreeable. She doesn't understand hierarchies. We have girl A. That's girl A. Girl B, she doesn't have experience. She's younger. She has a father figure. She's not, most likely, this is when I'm creating something here. She's not very disagreeable. She has figures keeping her in line. She still lives with her parents until we're keeping it traditional, where the guy comes on and takes her from the family, and then therefore now she, purity is a thing. Hopefully she's still a virgin and such. Who do you think the man, a general man nowadays, if they're very serious about their vetting process, we have girl A with the issues, she has damage, and girl B who is fresh, very fresh, and then the guy is more enticed. Well, I'm not spoiled, but who do you think that the guy is going to pick, or any guy would usually pick in general?
Obviously he's gonna go for the woman who's had the father figure in there, if that's what he's looking for.
Yeah. But girl A, she thinks she's of equivocal value to this girl and says, well, I have experience, I know my way around men, I have a career, I've had many boyfriends, I travel all over the world, I'm disagreeable. She's not say she's disagreeable, but she's probably a feminist for all we know, right? Because she has feministic tendencies, right? And you guys can spot that. We teach guys how to kind of spot that. And then a high value guy like yourself, she can tell you, well, I want commitment from you. The chances of you giving her that type of commitment are very, very low. So my point, like I mentioned with the Bugatti thing, just because she wants it, that doesn't mean she's going to get it.
Yeah.
In fact, she has an extremely unlikelihood of getting that. Men don't come home to be around a headache. They want peace. Like, your headache is your career. You're dealing with other people. You're dealing with responsibilities. You come home, you don't want to deal with more headaches. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But I agree with that, because you're saying that with the standards, yeah, my thing is be more realistic with your standards. That's really it. Like, I want certain things too, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna get it. You know what I mean? So I have to be very, very realistic about that stuff. And I want to kind of switch this up a little bit to like with men. We can come back to that hypergamy stuff, but I really want to talk about like the workouts and things like that because I want to switch this around with a question. Do you believe it's mandatory for men to be in shape?
I think it should be. Yeah, it definitely. I believe it, men and women should be in shape. You know, with the manipulation that's going on in society, obviously, certain people or certain powers don't want that to be. You know, but I think it should be mandatory for people to be in shape in general. You know, men and women.
Mm-hmm. With the workouts you do and such, how long did it take for you to get to where you are right now?
A long time. I would say basically since I started working out. Since I started working out and
11 years old, you said, right?
11. It's
Put your
taken
brother on the bench.
a lot of interviewing of bodybuilders and reading books. I've read tons of books. And it took a lot of hard work to get where I'm at least where I'm at. You know, I'm not saying I'm superhuman or anything like that, but I got a pretty good physique myself, and I do pretty out of the normal range of exercises that like what normal people would do in the gym. And it took a while. It took a while. It took basically since I was like actually since I was running around my block.
There you go. That's what's up.
Since I was running the streets.
And I'm guessing it took a while for you to kind of do some research. I call it research, where you're testing the waters, like you're seeing your diet and such.
Yeah.
You could have shared a little bit of what your. Let's do a progressive thing. How was your diet when you were first pretty much introduced into working out because of your brother? And how did you start your diet and how did you progress? What changes did you make to kind of sustain where you are right now?
So my diet was shitty.
Tends to be like that at the beginning.
I grew up on garbage, junk food, cereal, processed meat, milk, all kinds of garbage, sugar. You know, very little fruit. And I believe it's a karmic thing. You know, it happened. It taught me, and I learned a lot from that. So as I progressed, you know, obviously I was into health. When I started working out when I was younger, I didn't know anything about that. And then with my own issues, health issues that I've had, I started growing and developing from there. And that was happening around 22. You know, I was in the football team and the wrestling team in middle school. In high school, I was in junior varsity football, and I was wrestling. And but I wasn't into health at that time. I still wasn't into health. I was eating junk food. You know, I was living by myself since 17 years old. And I would eat out all the time.
Yeah.
You go to my house and all you see is like Burger King cups.
Yeah.
Taco Bell.
Interesting.
All the way to like, I would say maybe like 22, 23, it started changing. You know, I had high cholesterol, high blood pressure. And I was always fit, you know, I was always lean, muscular, into sports. But then from there, you know, with high cholesterol, high blood pressure, my mom suffered from all kinds of stuff like that too as well. And I started getting into health. That's when I started being a little bit more health conscious. And I was just reading, you know, first thing I started reading, I remember, was herbology.
Okay, herbology, nice.
Yeah, I started reading a lot about plants, plant medicine and stuff like that. Drinking teas. I started drinking teas. Eating a little bit healthier, you know, a little bit more fruit, you know, salads and stuff like that.
The good carbs and the good sugars.
Yeah. I started eating a little bit better. My health got a little bit better. And then I think probably around 26 was when I started juicing. I started doing like juice fasting. I was getting really deep into health. And I was learning all about like juice fasting, you know, even going to like a vegan diet, which I don't think is healthy at all. To cleanse, maybe if you want to cleanse, then you know do something like that, you know,
right,
for a period of time. And then I was experimenting with all kinds of different diets. And I remember I moved to Massachusetts. I was like 27, 28, I think. I moved to Massachusetts. I started working for the hospital, and I was making good money. But I was a vegan at that time, and I couldn't fucking handle the cold. I'm sorry.
Fine. No, you can stop here. It's totally fine.
No.
It's like I accidentally cursed like once or twice already on the show. Like, oh wow, look at that, I'm cursing now.
So I couldn't handle the cold, man. I was in Massachusetts, man. I was working for the hospital, and I couldn't handle the cold. And I was on a vegan diet. I was fruitarian vegan, raw diet. A lot of plants, juice, a lot of green juice, vegetable juice, and fruits. I was also going into like mono eating, where I would just eat like one whole fruit for the whole day.
Oh my goodness.
So,
mono, hence the pre-verb right there for mono, yeah.
And I was going to like all oranges for the day, all watermelon for the day. And I would fast like on watermelon for like 2 or 3 days. And it was great. I mean, I felt really good. I felt alive. I felt energetic. I had amazing energy. My energy was pretty good, but I just couldn't tolerate the cold.
Yeah, because one thing about like watermelon, when you're picking fruits, right? The one thing I always tell clients and just people in general, it's important to pick out certain fruits because of their GI index, glycemic index.
Yeah.
Watermelon, to my knowledge, has the highest GI index, but also there are pros of 100%. There's an amino acid called citrulline in watermelon that binds with one of the amino acids, like the main amino acids. It's the essential ones that doesn't digest well, so it's not absorbed within the body. The citrulline actually binds with it, so it's easily absorbed in the body, so it gives it that nice boost, which is really good. So watermelon is a good choice, 100% on that one.
Yeah.
Then it's pineapple. After that, then bananas and fruits in general, or just fibrous foods. They're the ones that aren't going to spike up insulin as much. They're actually going to regulate insulin, which is really good. Eating foods, if you're pre-diabetic or anything like that, anything that regulates insulin responses, that's going to be good for you, or just doesn't spike it as much. But also, we have the flavonoids or anything that helps out fight cancerous cells and things like that. So those fibrous foods is what helps out with that, right?
Yeah.
The other thing you were mentioning also before, like the vegan diet, just vegan and the mono eating. Oh my goodness, it's interesting because I spoke to one client not too long ago, and he mentioned, yeah, I just eat one really big meal and I'm good to go. Zaris, oh man, we haven't seen him in a long time actually. Oh my goodness, bro, we haven't seen him since like episode 8, 9, somewhere around there. Oh my goodness, how you been, my man? My goodness, welcome to the chat, man. Welcome. And I don't know how people do that, man. And I'm a big believer when it comes to food is supposed to nourish you to a certain degree, whether it's fats, proteins, carbs, zinc, or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
But you have to know how to make your diet. You have to know how to make your regimen. I don't like saying the word diet too much because when you say diet, if you want to break it down, that means you're depriving yourself of something.
Yeah.
Something is being taken out of your regimen, whether it's you're missing out on vitamin A, vitamin B, something is happening, right? So that's where some of the problems come in. Then I would always suggest, okay, supplement on certain things to kind of help you out with that. That's what most vegans would do, actually. So when I meet bodybuilders who are natural and they're vegan, I praise them a lot. I was like, that's a tough diet to get into, you know what I mean? And to sustain it. It's the sustainability that becomes tough, right? And I spoke to someone earlier today about working out because he's trying to bulk up. He's trying to put on like a clean bulk and things like that. And what I always tell people when it comes to protein intake, this is what you have to do, like 2 grams, 2.2 grams per kilogram body weight. That's going to help you with the muscle protein synthesis effect. The carb intake, I don't really go with the standards. What I like to do is, okay, you need to go with what your body responds well to.
Yeah.
That's the key. Because me getting in a certain amount of protein, fats, carbs, certain vitamins, it might not work for you, you might not sustain it, or your body doesn't tolerate it enough. Because what people have to understand is we have certain genes in our bodies that tolerate certain ingestion. And our endocrine systems are going to differ from one another. So whenever we're talking about how food is digested or what you put in, it's like, okay, you have to understand, like, if your body doesn't respond well to something, you have to replace it with something. So a perfect example is when people are lactose intolerant, it's because they lack the enzyme lactose, the lactose enzyme, right? So they're gonna have bloating feelings, they're gonna have discomfortability. So it's like, okay, switch to olive oil, it's more vegan and things like that.
Or do raw milk, raw dairy, which I'm sure some people have issues with it, and I'm sure a lot of people won't have issues with a healthy raw dairy, you know, unpasteurized, undenatured dairy, you know.
Absolutely. So if you were to tell me, like, question for you, do you count your macros?
I used to. I was big on it. When I started getting really into like a strict diet and stuff like that, then I was counting my macros.
Okay. So if you were to give me somewhat of a guesstimation right now, what would be your protein intake daily? On average.
On average?
Yeah.
I would say probably about 120. 120. And it could range depending on what I'm doing, my work, how busy I am. Yeah, I usually tend to push a little bit on the higher end on protein, so I can probably do like 160, which is quite a bit for my size, my height, but I don't think so. I think it's pretty good on and off, you know, not consistent. But my diet is sporadic. Even like recently, you know, my diet has been very sporadic. Um, you know, as far as like my career, what I was telling you, I'm driving trucks. I go for like whatever's easy, whatever's convenient, fast. You know, obviously no junk food. I don't eat no junk food at all. But almonds, not almonds. I'm lying. Cashews.
Okay.
I'll do a lot of cashews, fruits. You know, a protein shake if I have time. I'll make a protein shake, which I'm not a big fan of. But I do have like essential amino acids.
Okay.
I love
or BCAAs.
Not really BCAAs. I'm not a fan of BCAAs. I'm a huge fan of essential amino acids. You want to get a better spectrum of amino acids. They actually help each other in the utilization of protein synthesis. So
of course, yeah.
So I do. I don't do BCAAs. If I'm gonna supplement my protein shake, like let's say like a whey protein shake or something, then I might add a little bit more BCAAs. But I'm not a huge believer in just BCAAs. You know, you need a full spectrum of amino acids for it to work.
Right.
You know, so probably about like 120 to 160 is what I average around on a day. And it's mainly coming in from like eggs, cheese, dairy. I do dairy, and meats. I do a lot of like carnivore-ish kind of diet right now, and I've been doing it for a long time. I love meats.
Me too.
I tend to eat meat. I can eat meat all day long, and my body won't have no issue at all.
Me too.
Yeah,
he's big on that. Yeah.
Almond milk and stuff like that, or too many nuts and seeds and grains, and I just have issues. So I'll steer away from stuff like that. Mainly, my protein source is coming from eggs, dairy, and meats. That's where my protein is coming from.
Yeah, that's at least if we're going with that. I actually expected you to get closer to 200 grams.
I do sometimes. If I smoke a joint or something like that, or munchies, I'll overeat. I'll eat like 2 pounds of beef. You know, but it depends. It depends. If I see myself like slimming down a bit, then I'll throw in more protein for sure. And usually I do about 1.5 pounds a week.
Nice.
It's like the most.
Nice, yeah.
It's like I get the munchies.
Some of it.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. So with me, my diet is mostly salads, fruits, veggies, different types of veggies, all different types of protein sources. I'll have a cheat meal once in a while. I mean, Chris knows. Like the moment I have a cheat meal, I usually have it with him and like with other friends that we have and such. There are days, like if I have a whole day I'm working out and doing my thing, if I feel I'm a little tired, deprived, I can't get through the day, I just have like a banana somewhere around there, something that shoots up really quick. Yes. Okay, there you go. You got some fuel, go right on and do your thing, kill it right there. So that's what I was saying before, like the protein intake, if you're trying to build, even if you're losing weight or gaining weight, your protein intake, no matter what, should still be high. No matter what.
I agree.
You have to elicit the muscle protein synthesis response. You have to, no matter what. Including with branching amino acids, leucine can act independently, on its own. 3 grams per day, you're totally fine. Isoleucine and valine, they're dependent. They need to be all 3 of them together in order for some effect to happen. But leucine by itself can act independently, which is
I've
pretty
heard
good.
some studies on that, on leucine.
Yeah, they're a good amount actually. Leucine supplementation, just leucine supplementation, right?
Yeah.
3, some on 4, but 3 is like the optimal number, honestly. Yeah, so I get like maybe 3.5
per meal, I would say.
per meal. Yeah, and 3 grams to 4 is the equivocal of you getting in about like 40 to 45 grams of protein from like whey protein isolate somewhere around it, because when you break it down to its purest form, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Right. And with the what would be like your fat intake? Because with carnivore diets, it's high protein, high fat.
Yeah.
So you would say, from what you were mentioning before, you say you had like cholesterol issues, and then you were having.
I was in the past, yeah. When I was younger, in my 20s, early 20s, my teens. But fats, man, I'm not afraid of fats. I abolish fats, and I don't get fat. I mean, I eat a lot of fat. I have a little bit of fat on my body, but I eat tons of fat. So I'm not afraid of fat. And I eat fruit too, you know. When I'm on fruits and stuff like that, I'll have a good amount of fruits, and I still have a good amount of fats. You know, I probably do about. It depends on my diet. So if I'm eating fruit, I lower my fat a bit. But I'm roughly, if I was to tell you an average, I'm probably about 120 grams of fat a day.
Yeah, the algorithm usually is 1 gram, 1 gram of fat per kilogram of body weight.
Yeah.
And so whatever you weigh in kilograms, that's how much fat you would intake, just to kind of normalize everything. Yeah, and as far as like the carb intake, what would you say your intake would normally be average?
My carbs are always on the lower side, just because I don't do good with carbs.
Yeah,
I'm not a good carnivore, but I do like carbs. And,
who doesn't?
And in order for me to get some good sleep, I gotta have some carbs. You know, unless I'm going full keto. If I'm going full keto, I notice after a certain period of time, I don't need carbs at all to go to sleep. I go to sleep like a baby, sound sleep without carbs. But carbs, normal, I'm probably at about 70 to 122 as well. And that's usually my average right there.
I'm about that same actually. Like I might be like maybe 90, and on days where I feel like I need a little bit more, around like 130, somewhere around there. Yeah. As a guesstimation. Like I used to track all this, and now it's like, okay, I can have an idea because it's mostly fruits and veggies that I eat. Yeah. You know, with still protein. And if I need a little bit of fat, like I'll probably get like, you know, some potato chips here and just a few just to get some fat in, right?
So your body makes hormones with testosterone.
Of course. Well, testosterone is fat soluble. So you need fat for it to passively go through the muscle cells and to go through cells for activity to happen. So
it's made from, if you look down at how it's synthesized in your body, it's made from cholesterol.
Yeah.
And then from cholesterol it turns into pregnenolone. And then you get a whole breakdown, DHEA, you know,
right?
And then so it's all, the structure of it is a fat.
Yeah,
it's a saturated fat, which, you know, that's important. You gotta have fats in your body. Now you're gonna produce.
Of course, absolutely. But the fats are definitely going to be important because they help regulate certain functions of the body. They help protect organs in the body as well.
Yeah.
I think what it is with fat also is people tend to, it's either we're demonizing something. That's one thing I kind of don't understand sometimes. I'm a science guy, and the way I am when it comes to science is it's there. If you don't want to listen to it, that's a you problem.
Yeah.
Because the thing is that science proves things. What doesn't prove things are anecdotes and people who just have blind faiths, right? So if I can come up to you and say, well, I believe the sky is red, does that necessarily mean it's true? You know what I mean? I'm going to question that. And nowadays, when it comes, whether it's protein, because we still get a whole bunch of traction when it comes to protein. Oh, too much protein is bad, it damages your kidneys. That's been going on for years.
Yeah.
Years. And yet there's not a single study that proves that.
I probably would have been dead right now.
Me too.
I eat tons of protein, tons of fat, and carbs. I'm afraid of carbs. Yeah, because I will get fat off carbs pretty quick.
Yeah, me too.
If I eat too many carbs.
Yeah. So With carbs too, I've come to realize as well where it's like there are people who don't respond well to carbs, but then they'll say, well, carbs are bad. It's not. It's like you just don't respond well to it.
Yeah.
So I respond well to carbs. There are plenty of people who respond well to it. In fact, our body naturally creates sugar. Even when you're on keto, the body naturally creates it because there are cells that need it. So it's regardless, like it's gonna create it no matter what, and the body naturally stores it. In fact, like us being able to have glucose in the blood spares muscle glycogen. That's why whenever you see pre-fueling, when you hear pre-fueling, you're going to hear people say if you pre-fuel like 60 grams of carbs 1 hour before your workout, it spares muscle glycogen. So you have something in the blood already to fuel you through your workouts.
Yeah.
When that's done, you can still spare muscle glycogen by doing 1 gram of carbs, 1 gram of carb per minute after 60 minutes, so you're continuously sparing muscle glycogen. It's also a muscular adaptation if your body's able to store more carbs in the body. That's a muscular adaptation. That's not a problem. It's the body's like, look, I got it. Absolutely, it's an adaptation. It's a physiological adaptation that occurs in the body, and the Cori cycle also helps convert. Right, the Cori cycle when it comes to the liver, things like that. When there's lactic acid that's built up in the body, it goes through the Cori cycle to create more glucose. As a matter of fact, to help keep you going.
Buffer you out a bit and keep you going. Yeah, I think timing and combinations.
Yeah,
is very important when you're consuming carbs.
Absolutely, because it's obviously if we're dealing with somebody who's sedentary, who lacks the genes, it's like because genes are something else too. This is why like some people don't respond well to it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the sugar and the carbs. Like if you just eat like a candy bar one time, that doesn't mean you're gonna die or it's like poisonous to you. Like it doesn't work like that. So if you lack the gene, you lack a lifestyle. Your overall diet is terrible. It's constant sugar, it's constant carbs, and high fat, high cholesterol. We're going to see problems.
Yeah.
We're going to see problems. Like I go out, listen, him and I will go to the Jacksons. I remember I had 1 pound of ice cream. 1 pound. And man, that was like one of the greatest days of my life. And my body responded well to it. And I didn't get sick. I didn't die. Like my body responded well to it. Because, you know, we work out, things like that. If I was already preconditioned with pre-diabetes, or I was type 1, God forbid type 1, right? Type 2, high blood pressure,
sedentary, lifestyle,
all this, like, what am I doing eating this? You know what I mean? Like, my body's not going to process it well. It's a physiological response.
Yeah.
Your body's not going to tolerate it because you have all these predispositions.
Yeah.
Whereas you and I, we don't have these types of predispositions for the most part. So, me, for instance, I have people who caffeine is something else, right? There is a ton of research how caffeine is beneficial for you. A ton of research. I've yet to find any studies where you have scientists who are gathering people off the streets and running studies and say, okay, get 3 milligrams of caffeine per kilogram of body weight, then get 6, then get 9. It's mostly 3 milligrams. That's the moderate dosage. 9 can lead to caffeine toxicity, but it's dosage based. And not a single time where you do 3 milligrams will they'll say, oh, well, it damages this person from 3 milligrams. However, that's because they respond well to it.
Yeah.
And they have the gene for it. There is a caffeine gene. I probably don't have that gene, which is why if I drink coffee or caffeine certain times of the day, I get all jittery and
your liver doesn't break it down as fast as it should.
Yeah, and the liver is meant to break these things down just like the kidneys. Byproducts are created in the body in response to trying to expel certain substances from the body, no matter what. You're absorbing certain nutrients to keep your body going, but whatever the byproduct is, it expels it, no matter what, because if it stays in the body, that's the damages you, right? That's including whether it's the free fatty acids that you put in your body, because it converts into urea, that's the byproduct. Fat's the same exact thing, it starts to expel it in free fatty acid form.
Even hormone.
Yeah, absolutely. And then carbs, the same exact thing. With the glucose, once you use it as fuel or anything of that nature, then it's expelled from the body. It goes into byproducts.
Yeah.
Caffeine the same exact way. Anything converts into certain byproducts, so your body expels it, whether you poop it out or you urinate it out. That's basic. Or you sweat it out. The body has a natural phenomenal system to get rid of certain things in the body because they're creating byproducts, substance-created byproducts that shouldn't be in the body anymore. That's what it is.
Defecation, urination, and perspiration.
Pretty much. Absolutely. I like that. Just like that. So those are pretty much it. Because the thing is, one thing I wasn't gonna bring this up today actually, but I do want to bring something up because when it comes to dating or fitness or politics or anything like that, I do want to bring up this one point. I think Chris can kind of come on in on this one too. I'm going to probably be the first one to say not everyone's opinion matters. And I'll say why. When someone already has the experience, has the knowledge, has gone through even school, has done the work, has done the research, has experimented, and maybe even built a career out of it and helps people throughout it. And then there's also science to kind of back that up, right? If someone comes on and basically starts saying, well, I think this is wrong because I feel it's wrong, or I found something that isn't really scientific, or it doesn't really relate to the topic at hand, and it's more anecdotal than anything else, that's where I would say that opinion does not matter. If you run a business, which you do, and you just hired somebody, trucking, well, we're gonna jump on that in just a moment, trucking, but then this person feels like they have an opinion. Well, I think trucking is bad. I think we don't do enough, or the science or the mechanics, something, but they have no knowledge, they have no experience, there's no science to back that up. You're not gonna sit there and just be like, okay, buddy,
we should listen to you.
We should listen to you, right? Basically. So that's what it kind of boils down to. So not everyone's opinion matters, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Me, if it comes to politics, I'll tell you right now, like, if like Chris is into politics, I don't get into politics. Like, if I have, let's say, like a conversation with him about politics, I probably will just ask him questions because he knows more about that stuff than I do. So I'm not going to even try to debate him on that, to be honest with you. I'll just say, that's cool. What are your thoughts on this and this and that? I'll try to learn from him, as a matter of fact, because he's more experienced in that field than I am. So I'm not going to try to match him in that sense, or I'm not going to try to sound pretentious in that matter. I'm going to try to learn from him, as a matter of fact. Because if I try to say, well, A, B, C, and D, left, this, and right, when he clearly has more experience and knowledge, he's going to do the same. He's going to react the same way you just did. Oh, I should totally listen to you, right? Interesting. So that's a point. We never brought that up, actually.
On politics?
No, the
opinions.
The opinion. Not everyone's opinion matters. So if I gave him an opinion, especially if I'm trying to sound tyrannical or pretentious, he will most likely dismiss it and just be like, oh, all right, buddy. You clearly know your things, clearly.
I mean, opinions are just opinions, you know? That's what they are.
Yeah, it is true, but I think it also just depends on the circumstance. If I try to tell him how to run his business because I think I know it, it's like, whoa, hold on a second.
Right,
you know what I mean? Like,
it's just women sometimes think that opinions are like facts or something. They mistake it with like fact. Well, this is my opinion, whatever, and they think your fact is an opinion. Sometimes
it's the worst.
Yeah, it happens a lot. Especially when they're like debating all this dating stuff and everything.
Oh yeah, and we're gonna get to that soon because I do want to touch upon your career. As a matter of fact, how much time do we have? Okay, we're okay actually.
Yeah, we're good on time.
We're good. Okay, so regarding your career and such, I definitely wanted to touch base on the trucking thing because. Do you have closing thoughts, by the way, on the nutrition, the opinions and things like that?
I'm hoping to switch it up, man.
Excellent. Sounds good. But that was good, though. That was good. Like, it's definitely important, but I do agree with you when it comes to the working out. It is 100% mandatory, no matter what, man. Like, you should. Both men and women should. The moment you start getting lazy, do I want to say this right now?
It's healthy.
Yeah, it's overall healthy, but here's the thing, like, I'm just gonna say it.
Say it.
When it comes to working out, like you see a lot of women who they've never worked out a day in their lives, and then you look at them, they look great. They look phenomenal, right? They look absolutely phenomenal. Some guys to a certain degree, they might not have worked out, but they look decent.
No.
You know what I mean? They look a little decent. Some of them, and maybe their diets are just all right. Their diets are all right, and maybe they have some striations in their bodies and things like that. but we get somewhere with that, right?
Yeah.
My thing is with when it comes to the working out and such. I totally forgot what I was gonna say. Oh my goodness, I went off on such a tangent about that. Oh, my goodness.
We could do like
We'll come back.
we could do like something in depth about fitness and nutrition, like in a future podcast or something like
Yeah,
that.
we can definitely do that because the thing is, I always like to talk about this stuff and just getting into more of the research and things like that. It's always fun. But with your career, especially with the trucking, right? What got you into trucking, as a matter of fact? Because you told me that you worked in a hospital, you were making good money.
Yeah.
And did you transition from hospital work and then go into the trucking business?
Well, I'm a jack of all trades.
Nice.
So I love
Competency.
Yeah, I love to do everything. I love to learn how to do everything. Yeah, I was working in the hospital, and my career was biochemistry. I wanted to do biochemistry, environmentalist, and nursing. I was doing nursing assistant. I worked in the psych ward. So I was into that field at the beginning, into health. Then, obviously I didn't like that field. I didn't like the medical field at all. So I steered away from that. I did natural health, for a bit, and I was helping out a lot of people. I was a manager at a supplement store.
Nice.
So I
Which
was
supplement store did you work at?
nutrition store, and I worked in Toonies and Tamarack in Cold Springs.
Oh, nutrition smart. I haven't seen that one actually.
Bahama Breeze by Hiatus and Pines.
I barely go to hiatus. Barely. Oh my goodness. Is it still there? Is it still a thing, or they closed
Yeah,
it?
no, of course it's still there. Yeah, it's a pretty good store. I love it. I go shop there. So, it's like a Whole Foods, a small Whole Foods. It's a little mom and pop type store. And I worked in that store. I worked in a Toonies in Cold Springs. I was working in supplements and natural health for, I would say, maybe like 15 years, like 12, 15 years. And I was a manager of the supplement department. And I did that for quite some time. I enjoyed it. I loved it. I was helping people out.
Nice.
I was blessed with I was being given all kinds of free supplements from the best companies, and I've learned a lot about a variety of different companies, supplement companies, protein powders, protein companies, and I spent a lot of time doing that. I had my own company, my own supplement company, Immortal Body Nutrition.
Nice.
And I did that for a while. We failed. Me and my business partner, we failed at that. Now that was a long time ago. I was in the beginning stages of me working for a nutrition store.
Nice. Very good.
And we're trying to get the supplements into the store and everything, and it was working good, but then it failed. And then I went into making my own beverage. I was doing
Jesus, he is the jack of all trades.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Pretty impressive.
A fermented beverage. Keef.
Kefir. Oh my
I don't know if you heard of kombucha.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah.
So it's a fermented beverage, and it's good for your digestive system. It's probiotics, basically. It's bacteria.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that for a while, and I had two business partners, and it was going good. I was dedicating a lot of time to it. I was freaking formulating. I'm like a mad scientist in my house. I had a laboratory in my room in my closet.
It's like Breaking Bad for him, except it's for like the good stuff.
and it took a while because I had to get the right temperature, the right timing, double fermentation process. The right amount of sugar that it needed to ferment. And I was experimenting with that, trying to get that right, and I perfected it. I believe I perfected it at 6 months. It took me 6 months to completely perfect the taste, the fermentation, and when I had it, it was so perfect. It tasted like a champagne.
Goodness gracious.
But like a real good champagne. Yeah.
I've never had champagne in my life, but if it tastes like that, and we know that, the champagne industry is just like the alcohol industry. It's definitely there. They make good money and such. So the fact that you're able to somewhat replicate at least aesthetically the taste is extremely impressive.
It tasted like that because it would ferment, so the bacteria would eat the sugar and make a little bit of alcohol in there, but it was a minute amount. But it bubbled up. It carbonated, so it was naturally carbonated from the bacteria eating the sugar, and so it had kind of like that bubbly taste. It was like bubbly, but it had a really nice taste with the fruit. You know, I was doing fruit juices.
Wow, my goodness.
So I perfected it. It was great. It tastes amazing. You know, I had 3 flavors, and then that failed. That whole career failed due to licensing and permits from the Department of Agriculture. They'll make it hard for you.
Yeah.
You needed to have a good funding system to be able to fund that. And because I didn't have that, it went to shit.
Ah,
So-
my goodness.
Damn.
So then,
But that must have been, sorry to interrupt you, that must have been kind of like a lesson,
yeah,
like a big lesson for you right there. It's like, okay, so definitely like the licensing and being able to find a company or partners who are able to help with the funding
Some
and things like
investment,
that. Yeah, it's a huge investment. Oh my goodness.
and because I'm not really good at like business, like writing business plans or anything like that, that's why I kind of failed. Neither did my business partner.
Were you guys under an LLC or?
We had an LLC.
Okay.
Yeah, we had an LLC.
Well, it wasn't the sole proprietorship. You guys had
Yeah.
a legal LLC. You had the license to have the LLC and everything.
Yeah, we established that everything was legit. The only thing was that I didn't know how to promote it to an investor.
Mm.
You know, I didn't know how to present it to an investor. Obviously, if you would have tasted it yourself, you would have been like, shit, you know, I got to drink this. It's nice. It's something that you could drink every day. People who drink kombucha would have loved it, you know.
The thing also too is you have to consider as well. There's a lot of competition out there.
A lot.
You know. So what if? It's so funny. I had this conversation with a coworker earlier today about investing. About like if you have a lifestyle, because we did you hear about Tyreek Hill? About what happened with him earlier?
No,
It was yesterday. Did you hear about that football player for the Dolphins?
You got arrested or something?
Yeah, he got arrested because
Something about some player got arrested before the
Yeah.
game or something. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was at the Hard Rock, close to the Hard Rock actually,
Oh,
here,
okay.
very, very close. And apparently it's 2 reasons. That he didn't have a seatbelt on, or I think he was doing reckless driving. He was like driving 60 over 45, somewhere around there, right? And great, I've met him actually.
Oh, yeah.
Great guy. And he's
Wow.
at Bomb Reader Performances. Great guy. You know, he trains hard and things like that. He's a good player.
Okay.
And not to like really relate to him or anything, but when I said this to my coworker, and I'm just like, look, so guys like that have money, you know, you need to take the time to invest. You need to take the time to network and build partners. The one thing that I did not mention ever, and we can kind of talk about this too, is it's a funny thing. Coming back to slightly on the female topic, right? What women tend to do sometimes, and Chris, you can kind of jump on this one, right? Is let's say you or me, myself, or Chris, anybody, and we just happen to have the money, and then we just happen to get a Lamborghini or the Bugatti example. We have a Bugatti, we have everything. And there are some, not all, some women will try, even guys do this, will try to shame men for just buying luxurious things, and then they say, oh, he's compensating for something. The one thing I always like to say is, okay, first of all, if men are able to spend that type of money, first of all, great. But I guarantee you, most of the time, a majority of the time, men like that who get extravagancies like that is because they understand that it helps open doors for them. So if they're going to network, a lot of these networkings and rich guys and guys who have a belief system or they're into certain things, the guys who are trying to come in, they don't have a rite of passage. What is their rite of passage? A little bit of materialism, unfortunately.
That is
So-
true.
So if they have a Bugatti and you have a Bugatti, it's like, whoa, you have a Bugatti? And then the guy happens to be a business owner just like him.
They'll listen to us. Yeah.
They'll listen a little
Right.
bit more, right?
Right.
So to me, it's like, I think people have to stop trying to pathologize and shame men and women too, of course, for trying to spend on certain extravagancies if they know what they're doing with it. If they're doing it with it for networking purposes, that's opening doors. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you gotta invest. You gotta invest into yourself always. You know, to open up the opportunities and everything. You know, networking is huge. You know, and well, as far as like what we're talking about me, when you know my business failed, you know, I should have funded it. You know, I should have put more into it. You know, if I would have did that, if I would have threw everything that I had into it, it probably would have grew really good.
What stops you from putting, I guess, more eggs into the basket?
I wasn't in the position financially to
Okay.
to go 100%. I could have though. I could have done it, and I think that's where a lot of people get rich. When they take the risk, they're like, fuck it. I'm not scared. I'm gonna take the risk and I'm gonna do it. I didn't do it. I was afraid.
I think there's a saying called "scared money don't make money" or something like
That's true, bro.
that.
and
That's a good one, actually. Very good.
And yeah, so that failed. That opportunity passed. And
But hey, if you did it once, you can do it again, though.
Oh, I could always do it again. Yeah, I could always present it.
You have the knowledge in your head, bro.
Yeah. And then so I let that fail, and I lost my job. Bro. I lost my job at the nutrition store. I got fired because I got my coworker pregnant.
Oh.
And I was her manager.
Oh.
I see.
So that's when a couple doors opened up for me. One closed, which put me I was scared because I had my baby almost pregnant, and I got fired, and I needed to make money.
Right.
And so I was doing Uber, Lyft, all kinds of stuff. I drove around. I was doing private rides for people. And then I opened up a landscaping company. I bought a truck. I invested into a truck. Bought a landscaping company. Opened up a landscaping company. Bought my tools, and it went really good at the beginning. I was making some good money. I got 10 grand a month, which is not a lot of money, but it was great for me.
It's
in the position that I was in, with the rent that I was paying, it was great.
What drove you? What's I guess my main question here right now, because this is for the audience, right? Because the thing is that we have too many men nowadays who are they're just bums. They're not doing anything. They're not reaching for the stars. They kind of just give up a little bit.
Yeah.
And what I tell men a lot of the times, and this is something that, if we're talking about the meritocracy, right? A lot of the past inventors in the past, whether it's, anybody, just anybody who you want to think of, right, who just invented things, whether you want to go with a light bulb, whether you want to go with creating boats and things like that, all these great people who created inventions, their main motive, believe it or not, is because they're trying to impress women. They're trying to impress, and they want to sustain female hypergamy. That when they have all of that, it's all there for them. They have the luxury to negotiate. They have status. That's the thing, right? Status is a big thing. It's the pre-selection. There was another one here. It's pre-selection and just social proof is what allows and gives women that drive to go and say, "Wow, this guy, he's something." He seems like he promises me a future. Regarding what I was just talking about there and such, what was the drive? What was the main drive that got you, okay, I did this, it failed, I did this, failed, and just kept you going? What was keeping you going this entire time?
Well, I got my daughter's mother pregnant, obviously, and I was having a child, and I was like, I got to make money.
Okay.
So it's women. It's women.
So it boils down to the guys. You know what I mean? I asked him that on purpose just so he could just say, I know he's gonna say it, or something else. You know what I mean? And the answer, and of course that's the most optimal answer, honestly, because at the end of the day, it's like, look, I'm chasing excellence, but see, Chris is a man. I'm gonna say off rip. He understands off rip. Chasing excellence, chasing not perfection, but just understanding that money does things, okay? I hate when people kind of lie to themselves and say, oh, well, money is materialistic, but money opens doors for you. Money gives you the opportunity to have experience.
Gives you options, yeah.
Options.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's another thing that tends to be pathologized. And it's like, okay, but and you can ask them in the salts, okay, if money doesn't matter, then why don't you date that homeless guy over there?
I'm gonna live in the wild.
That's it. Find Tarzan. You know what I mean? Pick up bananas from trees, learn how to communicate with gorillas and things like that, learn how to communicate with animals, and just survive.
Which is a beautiful lifestyle. I mean, I love that. I love being in the wild.
It sounds interesting. I want to go on a trip one day, like a camping trip into the wilderness and things like that. No phones. I will go in there because I don't want to be distracted by technology. Even when I'm reading the Bible now, as a matter of fact, and I guess I think I remember what I was talking, what I wanted to say, right, when it came to the technology and things like that, right? So one of the things I wanted to bring up really quick is that so I'm reading this. I'm reading the book of Luke now. Are you into theology by any chance?
Not as much. I mean, I don't read much about like the Bible or anything like that. But I love like Greek mythology and stuff like
Okay.
that. I'm into stuff like that. You know, ancestral type of living.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So the reason why I want to, and the thing is that we don't talk too much about religion on this podcast. I do want to talk a little bit more about that because it's more context, right? And it has a lot to do. I believe religion has a lot to do with just the integrity of the structure, the infrastructure of society. It gives it the backbone. It gives it that good backbone. And pretty much what I was going to say is, do you when it comes to I guess the hierarchies, because we were talking about hierarchies before and things like that, when it comes to women and things, because the thing is that they're willing to get this type of man, like a high value man, but they're not willing to listen to them, which is really, really bad. And on top of that, the one thing I wanted to mention, and the red pill. Are you familiar kind of like with the red pill community and like red pillism and the manosphere, things like that?
No, the only thing I know is the red or blue pill.
Well, so the red pill, honestly, you can think of a lot of definitions for it, but basically, the red pill, in my eyes, just to keep it in simple layman's terms, it's a database. It's basically how the red pill is basically formed. It's like I said, it's a database, and basically a bunch of guys online, or self-proclaimed masculine or men who are experienced, kind of just came together and said, "Look, we want to understand women more. We want to understand how to approach them. We want to understand a little bit of the psychology, the science, like hormones, even like what gets them kind of going. You know what I mean?" And to be honest with you, and Chris, check this out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say right now to the audience, the red pill is what saves you guys, and I think it also saves women.
Yeah.
I'm going to say just like that, it saves them. And I'll tell you why. Because the thing is that patriarchy is now being somewhat foreshadowed. I believe, and Chris, I'll say believes too, we're more in a matriarchy than we are in a patriarchy, even though the patriarchy kind of drives matriarchy because we're allowing it to happen, right? But in a society now where we are, where women basically have more rights than us, they have more double standards than us, and they're severely overprivileged, I would say. If we're talking about the theology, right? When it comes to dating, how do you think dating is going so far? Do you think dating is good right now, or do you think it's kind of super downhill?
I don't know. With Tinder and all that shit going on, I'm not sure. I don't even, when I find my women or like girlfriends and stuff like that, I usually find them on, like in a store, you know, like I'm shopping around but like dating right now is technology. Is it, on the phone, you meet people on the phone, virtually.
Yeah, that's the most popular way right now for dating. Whether it's Hinge, Tinder, Bumble, that's what's called Bumble.
Yeah, Bumble, there's Bood, or so many of them.
Something like that. Yeah, so there's constantly a way to do that. Now,
right now, that's what it is. Dating is virtual.
So the reason why I'm bringing all this up, like, with the dating and such. So I'll kind of make this kind of short because I know you're not really like that much into like the theologies, which is fine. In the book of Luke, there's a gentleman who's a priest. I forget his name. Is Zechariah, I believe that's his name. He's an old priest and he has an old wife named Elizabeth. They're well beyond their years of having children. So an angel comes down named Gabriel and says, "Your wife is going to have a child," and he questioned it. He questioned it pretty hard, actually, and he was punished for it. I'm going to tell you how this relates to our conversation. He was punished for it. He was punished for having doubt, for basically, it's like, it sounds a little too good to be true, you know what I mean? Like, I need to see proof, I need to see signs, whatever you might think. His punishment, Gabriel basically shut him up. He couldn't speak for the whole 9 months of pregnancy for his wife. The whole 9 months. How Elizabeth was able to tolerate him without him being able to speak, that's unknown. The context is unknown. So he was punished for having doubt and questioning certain things. Now, Mary, who's the bearer for Jesus, okay, the same angel came to her and said, "You are going to bear a child." But how? I'm a virgin. She only questioned it just barely. But Gabriel basically came in and said, you're going to have a child and you're going to name him Jesus. Basically, you just listen to me. Just listen to me. And right away said, you know what? I'm all in. Basically, just like that. I'm all in. I believe in this. This is good. And of course, eventually Jesus Christ. Now, the reason why I brought that up is because when the red pill community, I'm gonna see how this is all gonna make sense now.
Okay.
The red pill community, we are constantly crucified, and we receive a lot of backlash for doubting and telling the truth, and for asking for science and evidence, and we have that now. So, when basically the reason why I'm bringing all this up is that when we say, okay, well, men are this, women are that, there's patriarchy, this and that, we show science, the truth is naturally shunned off. Whereas when we just go with it, just like how Mary did with Gabriel, she wasn't punished for it. She just went with it. Whereas if the red pill kind of just went off with societal lies, or they're plugging, we're not ridiculed for that. So I find it fascinating how even in theology, to a certain degree, when you have doubt and when you're trying to fight back against certain things, you're punished for it. Whereas if you just go with the flow, you're not punished for it. Comparing it, a little bit of theology and comparing it to now in real life, we're talking patriarchy, matriarchy, we're shunned for it, which I find it ridiculous. So what are your thoughts on that, actually, when we're comparing kind of theology with kind of what's happening with dating?
I mean, I'm not into that stuff like that in depth into that. I really don't have much to say about that. If you have another question or something, I'm not. I don't really.
No worries.
Yeah.
How about this then? So we'll go back to the trucking thing. So I'm gonna say right now, because of where you are, okay, your drive, your passion, and you have a lot of motivation, and you want to support your child and things like that. I'm going to say right now, because of where you are right now, you are, I will say this confidently, you are an above average man. You're competent, you have good knowledge, you have a good attitude, you seem extremely stoic, okay? You have very redeemable and bodacious traits that make you appealing and have you stand out, all right? That gives you high sexual market value, or SMV, if you want to come into like somewhat of an abbreviation on that. With the trucking job, do you feel, and this is, besides you having like a baby mom and a child and things like that, the interactions outside of your household, whether it's at the gym, a restaurant, you traveling, how has this career, with the status you have now, how is it somewhat giving you attention, if it has, I'm sure it has, with women, with approaching you and such like that?
Well, I gotta say I'm more financially stable, and I think that right there is attractive. When somebody has good money, they can buy whatever they want. They can afford to rent a nice apartment. That right there has definitely created a benefit. And for some reason, women are attracted to that.
Because they look for security.
Yeah, they're looking for security, and they obviously they see it. They see this guy. He could pay all his bills. He could even take care of me without even me working. They love that. They really like it.
Have women questioned your career, like as like a trucking? Oh, has it been an ick for somebody, or has it been like, interesting?
It's been interesting. As far as like the women that I've talked to,
yeah,
like they're interested.
Are you like a local trucker, or you travel?
I travel around
across America.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got my dad's cousins do that stuff. Interesting.
But I'm not a driver.
I think you get paid more as well, right? If you
drive, yeah. I mean, if you own your own truck, yeah.
Yeah.
Gross about 24 a month.
Wow.
And net could vary. So like 16.
Right.
So it's amazing. It makes good money.
Yeah.
But I'm more of a businessman. I'm not more of a driver.
Okay.
Only reason why I'm a driver is because I'm almost forced to drive because I can't find an employee.
Oh, okay. So you own a business, a trucking business.
Yeah, I have my own trucking business.
Okay.
And he mentioned that he started investing into a trucking business. He bought a truck and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was landscaping first, and then from landscaping, I converted it over into a carrier, transportation.
Yeah.
Nice.
This is a lot.
That makes a lot more money, yeah.
But this is a lot of knowledge he has, you know what I mean? And the other thing too is that women appreciate competency, right? And so this is something I'm going to say this first on the podcast. Like I've been meaning to share this with you actually.
Okay.
Experience brings knowledge, knowledge brings competency, and competency brings confidence. I like to have that little formula, that algorithm, as always. And hence, just to tell everybody, like, you gotta put yourself in the fire here, man. Like, you gotta go out there. Like you were mentioning earlier with like the fermentation thing that you were doing with your drinks, that you wanted to take that risk. But you know, we can always have hindsight and just say, what if you did take that risk? You know, there's always that little what if, or well, maybe you would have found an investor.
Yeah.
But there's also that possibility that the investor might have pulled funding from you because maybe it's like, well, I don't know. You know what I mean? Because of competition. Where you are now, it's like, it is the byproduct of you choosing certain paths, but it was more like instinct. Maybe with the drink stuff that you want, the fermentation with the drinks that you were making, you might have had somewhat of an intuition. Maybe, I wouldn't say you thought of it emotionally, maybe you did think more logically about it and then decided to say, look, I could put more or all my eggs in this one basket. However, I need to be sure that this is a safe bet for me. There needs to be a level of security for me. Maybe you didn't feel like there was a level of security. I'm just going off the whim here.
I didn't, right? My business partners, they weren't making me feel that confident.
Okay.
So-
you gotta find the right business partners for
Yeah.
that stuff. Always. Jesus Christ.
And I was just a little bit too afraid of diving deep into that by myself.
Mhm.
Just because, like I told you, I'm not really good at writing paragraph summaries, you know, in-depth stuff.
Contracts.
Yeah, whatever. Like, I'm good hands-on.
You didn't look into a lawyer for that? Because you can have lawyers make contracts for you on that.
But not only, like, contracts, but, like, presenting something, you know.
Oh, like a proposal. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
I'm not really good at stuff like that. Like, or doing a podcast, or, you know, I'm not good at that.
I think you're doing phenomenal right now, man. Look at you. Like,
Yeah.
you're going in right now. Like, you're telling us, like, you're explaining to us right now and to the audience, this is the confidence which reverts back again to the competency, the knowledge, and experience. It all gets broken down. So all of this is just phenomenal, man.
I'm not good at storytelling, or you know.
Do you think he's bad at storytelling?
No, he went on like 5 minutes talking about his life. It was good.
It's an interesting life, man. Like, it's where you are now is phenomenal, man.
Hey,
I
you done a lot.
No,
Yeah.
I've grown a lot. I gotta say, and at this last business opportunity that I've been doing right now, that I'm working on in the trucking, I owe it to one of my old friend of mine. You know, he's a real good businessman. The
Oh,
guy-
let me ask you a question. Are you hiring?
I am hiring.
Oh yeah, now we're talking.
All right.
Yeah.
I know some people-
Right now I got 2 trucks. I got a semi truck and I got a hot shot. It's a 40-foot flatbed hot shot, and that's the position I'm trying to hire right now.
Okay.
It's for that, and I dispatch them. You know, obviously I'll drive the hot shot myself. I'm not a CDO, so I'm not CDO.
Oh,
But whoever drives that truck, which is a F-350, it's a Ford F-350, doesn't have to have a CDO license to drive that.
it's a smaller one, right?
It's an F-350, regular truck.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the Super Duty.
Oh, okay. Oh, you need those trucks. Okay.
Yeah, it's a Super Duty truck.
All right.
And it has a gooseneck flatbed.
Nice.
And it generates a good amount of money without having to be a CDL. So you don't have to be a CDL to drive.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, I am hiring, and you know, obviously, you know, whoever I get that position to, we got to do a contract, drug test.
Of course.
You know,
The standard formalities.
Yeah. Yeah.
interview. I got to interview that person, and you know, they got to be fit for that type of position. You know?
All right. Yeah, I know a lot of people looking for jobs.
Very good. Yeah. So it's the one thing I haven't mentioned, because we're talking jobs now, right? So this is for the audience too, and you know, I thank Chris for really going a little bit more in detail about this. Thank you for that. Anything that involves trade, like trade jobs, STEM, or trucking, there are many businesses out there that are generating income. And the reason why I bring this up is because if in colleges, I would say over 50% of students end up changing careers, probably more than one time. It's not an abnormal thing. It's totally. I changed my career actually I think it was one time actually. I wanted to, no, twice. I wanted to get into video game design the first time, and then maybe change it to graphic design to a certain degree because I had to get into graphic design to start getting into video game design. And then I switched to exercise science. Now I have my master's in exercise science. I have certifications for strength and conditioning and sports nutrition. Um, and now I'm looking into different paths now. So I'm kind of like, I guess, in relevance, going into the same path as you, where I'm trying new things, trying to build the competency, except you've had more success in that. And now with this podcast as well, we're just trying to go for more education. Just it's mainly trying to help guys out, and women as well. So it's phenomenal, man. It's totally phenomenal content. This is for the gentlemen too. Like, if you end up, I guess, hitting a plateau, listen to what Chris is saying. All right, try, take risks, try new things. The STEM jobs, the trade jobs, and even us running this podcast, like you at first, I even explained a few episodes ago where it's like, me being in front of a camera, like you said, like, I don't know about, being in front of a camera, just talking in a podcast, like, I wasn't totally down for that. But I told myself, like, I speak, I talk, I think I enjoy talking to people. And a camera's...
I'm sure you do.
I don't think he'll doubt that at all. Like, I've only known this guy since high school. Oh, yeah. I know he talks.
Yeah.
So we kind of go from there. So so try new things, guys. Okay? Don't stop giving up. And if you feel like a career or a job is a deadbeat thing, escalate. Move on. Yeah. It's totally normal. It's fine. The only thing that what people, and you probably got this as well, is pushback from friends, family members. Why are you doing this? Why are you changing your career? I thought you wanted to become a doctor. It's a more promising career. Why don't you just go here? Why are you doing this? And you kind of have to go that there's a level of ignorance there because they don't have that experience. They haven't gone through the walk of life on that one. So that
they see the benefits.
The results. They see the results, right?
They're like, keep doing it.
Yeah, and I say that with research also. It's like results matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if the results aren't there, there's not much to go off of. Like I'm not even gonna bother. You know what I mean? The results matter for sure, 100%. So this is good. So now let's transfer. Are we good on time?
Yeah, we got like 10 minutes left.
10 minutes. Okay, let's see what we can do with that. Yes. So I want to transition. Still talking about careers with your trucking. Now, regarding, because I asked this already when it comes to like kind of the dating stuff. When you speak and then you're talking with girls and things like that, has trucking given you more of confidence, more competency now? And I can guess that you're very experienced in the dating market. I'm sure you dated plenty. Nowadays, when you're dating girls of this timeline now, 2024, what have you noticed so far when it comes to you talking with women, what they're expecting, what they want out of you, or what you want out of them? Are you getting what you want out of them? Are they getting?
Yeah, like has it changed?
Well, my expectations went over, my standards went a little bit higher.
Okay. Okay, in what sense? In what sense, actually? I want to abbreviate on that one, actually. Because the thing is that he's an above average man. He can afford to have higher standards.
Right. That's how it works.
Yeah, because why not?
Right.
You've worked. Just like if any person, I'm going to get into a little bit more detail, like the higher ups. Any person who's done the work, who has built, who's done all this, like, they can do things. They can negotiate more. They can do not whatever they want, I guess, but they have the power to do more things.
Yeah.
So regarding that, like, how has it been, like, the responses from what your experiences are?
Well, I mean, women, they just open themselves up a little bit easier. You know, they notice the position that, obviously they know the position that I'm in. You know, they can tell. I haven't really been dating around that much.
Okay.
Since I've been doing trucking. I just haven't really been into that. I'm more focused on my daughter and just bringing up, providing for her. So being able to provide for my daughter is my main priority. So I haven't really been dating, but I have came across women. I have talked to women and engaged in conversations and possibly even taken them out on dates. But I haven't really engaged in that many interactions with women. So I really couldn't tell you, their response. But they do open up. Obviously they see your position, they see how you're living, they see, that you got a nice truck or a nice car, that you're able to financially pay for dinner and whatever without having an issue being like, oh, I gotta hold back or something, I got funds to do this. So they open up a lot easier.
So it sounds to me they get in line more when they see your position. That's what it sounds like to me. That they're more in line versus them.
They see the dominance. They feel the dominance.
So you would agree that women search for masculinity and men they search for dominance. They search for leaders. Would you agree with that?
I agree with that.
What if I told you because of feminism, a lot of women think the opposite?
I could possibly be.
So tell me your experience with not the baby mama, but the previous one, the most recent one that you just decided to date, right? How did that look? What were the beginning and end procedures of that? How did that look?
Well, it was pretty easy. I mean, I was talking to a chick, and she saw my position. She was in, she wanted me to hang out with her, and she was kind of like open, I didn't even have to say much, but I didn't pursue it at all. I wasn't into it, and I'm traveling around too much, so I was like, I'm not into that right now, I like the fact that she was willing to hang out, and spend time, and
she escalated.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm so glad. Okay. Oh yes, perfect opportunity here. So here's the other thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to female hypergamy, right? Because now we're bringing things together, right, with your career and things like that. This is fun. The thing about hypergamy also is, and this is something you and I spoke about actually,
right?
There has to be a level of exploitation with female hypergamy. And what I mean by that is the man has to have higher sexual market value than the woman. The woman has to like the man more, and she has to be more interested in the man for something to happen, no matter what. Now, when I say that to a lot of girls, they're instantly like, "What? We have to like them more? What if it's equal? Why shouldn't the guy like me more?" I'll tell you why. Because you're not going to have attraction for those types of guys. That's why. Mm-hmm. So if we break down hypergamy even more in branches, right? If you're on a date with a girl, and I'm going to say that was cool how you did all that, right? You let her escalate. That is the key thing. The key word is escalation. It has to come from the woman, not the man. And if we're breaking this down even more psychologically, right? You take a girl on the date. You're the one who makes the move. You go up to her and say, "Hey, look, listen, I think you're great, whatever it is. You know what I mean? I think you're great. I'd like to take you. I like your personality, whatever, however your approach is." And say, "I know some places, you plan the logistics. You don't let her plan. Because if we're even, I'm going to go off with theology one more time here, actually, because this is an excellent point." I'm going off a rant now. Look at that. Because what you said was perfect. If we're going to go off, I'm sure you know about Adam and Eve, right? Okay. So if we talk about the snake was there to lead her off the path, deceive her, make her say, "Oh, don't worry, take the fruit from the tree, nothing's going to happen," like whatever it is that he's saying, right? And what does she do? She goes and basically takes charge and leads Adam astray. She exploited him. So when she convinced him to take the apple and God is angry, my understanding of it is he's not mad at Adam for taking the apple from the tree. He's mad because he let Eve lead him away, lead him astray, off his path, off the mission, the instructions God gave him. Like, bro, why are you listening to her? I gave you clear instructions on what to do. So now if we're relating this now to dating, the moment you listen to her, you just exploited yourself. Hence, you're not a leader. Hence, you're not in your masculine. She's adapting now more masculinity because now she feels like she's more in charge. Yeah. Now, she doesn't look at you like you're the superior, that you're the leader. She's looking down on you. And this especially goes for if you're going on dates, The moment you're done with this date, I haven't brought this up on this podcast actually. The moment you go on a date with her and you're done, okay, and it was great. Assuming it was great, which I'm sure it was. Gentlemen, do not call her. Do not text her afterwards. Don't text her. Don't do this whole good night, baby. Good night. Do not do that. Do not do that. Okay, I said that a few episodes ago. Do not do that. I'm going to tell you why from a psychological perspective. Okay, when you do this, okay, when a man calls and texts, you don't know how the woman is feeling at that current given time. You don't know if she's having the time of the month. You don't know if someone pissed her off that day. You don't know if she got into an argument with somebody or she's feeling tired, sick, like whatever it is. The moment you contact her, you're showing her that you're SMV. She's not going to consciously think that, of course, there's sexual market value. You are the one trying to escalate, hence you are the one who's trying to get something. You're trying to get something from her, and you're proving to her that that you are proving to her that she's a scarcity. She's not an abundant. You're proving to her that you are the abundant source, that she's the scarcity source. That is incorrect. She has to be the one to call you. She is the one who needs to text you, okay? And like what you did was perfect. You went, I was like, look, I got my daughter, I have my job, I'm chasing excellence. Did she call you anyway? Like, try to contact you or anything?
No, because she knows that, she's probably waiting for me to call her.
She's waiting, and that's okay. And I want to tell you why that's okay. Because if she doesn't call you, it's plain and simple. Plain and simple. We don't have to do any sort of signs. She's just not that interested. It's plain and simple. She's not. She's not. There's no game. There's no science to that. She's not interested.
Mm.
What disqualified you? Who knows? Who knows what disqualified you from her? Maybe it was because what you wore that day. Maybe you didn't smell good that day. Who knows what it could be? But gentlemen, like I'm saying, the reason why you have her call is because think of it like in the stock market. We can relate to the stock market here. Of course, the person's going to respond better to a stock when it's at its peak, when you can buy it, right? When it's really, really like, whoa, oh my goodness. That person's interest level is at its highest. So they're going to invest in that. Same thing now with women. When they see that you are rare, you are a scarcity, you are in that top percentage of men who basically every woman is going after. If she's really into it all the way, her peak interest is up here. So now when she escalates, you know her interest is up here. Versus if you call her, her interest might be here, or it could be here, there. You just put yourself in a compromising position, and it's to her emotions. So that's where it comes from. So the woman absolutely has to be the one to escalate it after you call the date and such. But my man, do you have any closing remarks on that, actually? Do you have anything you want to add on before we end our show here?
No, man, it was great, man. I love talking about anything. I'm open to anything. So,
Love it.
I'll share whatever I could do to help people out. Your public, anybody out there listening, anything I can say to help anybody out.
Perfect.
I love to help people out.
My man, Chris. God damn it, man. It was an absolute pleasure having you in, my man. Absolutely. If you ever want to come on back to the show and talk about certain things, or you end up maybe changing careers or anything like that, we'd love to learn more about it and to see your journey, because this is excellent. This is excellent.
If you ever have, subject you want to dive into, you feel I'm fit, you want to pick my brain or whatever, I
would love that. Would you, just the last thing here before we close, if I were to bring, let me see if you're open to this, if I were to have women on this show and they have certain things they want to debate about,
I love debates, man. It's fun.
You would be open to being here on the show debating with me, of course, and with Chris, about certain values that women should be attaining and how men should assert themselves and the dominance and things like that.
I'm down for that.
Interesting. All right. This could be like a future content here.
Yeah, maybe.
Future. So I do have potentially two women who will come on. Maybe not like right away, like this week or next week even, but I'll keep you on the loop on that.
Yeah, let me know. I'm gonna be a little bit busy in a couple weeks. I gotta drive, and I'm gonna be on the road probably for like maybe a month, and then I should have a driver truck. Yeah. But I'm free for about 3 weeks. These whole 3 weeks.
Okay. Yes. See what I can do here. All right. Perfect. Perfect. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 24. My God, what an episode! This is Leo, Chris Santa, and Chris Cervantes behind the scenes. We are signing out as the Unplugging.
All right, guys. Good night.